I'm about to give you some reasons to be excited about football for next year.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. We want to thank you everydayers for being here every day, and thank you newbies for being here today, and thank you all for making this first listen every day. But, Jimmy, yesterday I got to go to an event at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Can't talk about anything specific. They made that very clear. It was a big group of people. I'm sure some things will get out. There wasn't anything groundbreaking, so don't worry about that. Don't go scouring the internet. But there were some reasons that I think you should be excited, and I'm going to talk about them in a very broad fashion. By the way, I did see several people that mentioned they would watch the show. We appreciate those folks. All great Americans. I don't know another way to put it. I think it's the most patriotic thing you can do is watch our program. I don't want to say people who don't watch it are awful people, but it's kind of the way it is, right? I mean, anywho, so all the coaches spoke. Well, actually, let me go in chronological order here. I got to speak to some people with Yay, Alabama. Let me go ahead and make this very clear to you guys.
You talked to my guy, Jay?
I did. How'd you know that?
Well, I just me and Jay are pretty good buddies, and he's an awesome dude. And, of course, Suttles has been one of my best pals for a long time.
Yeah, number one, we got to get Suttles back on. I only got to wave at Suttles. He was sort of doing his own Yay Alabama podcast, broadcast, something, and he was on the panel that spoke to the three players, and I'll talk about those in a second. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to break any trusts that they asked us not to break. So I'm going to be broad, but read between the lines. I did speak to Jay, and Jay was super nice guy. Let me say this about Yay, Alabama. I think we're in really good hands. I also think what I learned yesterday, and again, this is my piecing this together. Whenever you see things out there about, so this school has this much, and that school has this much, and here are the rankings, and here this, it's all kind of nebulous. I mean, yes, some of these things are true and some of these things aren't, but I don't think it's as easy as just ranking whose NIL is the best. I mean, I think it is pretty clear. I mean, look, Texas A&M, Oregon, they got boatloads and barrels full of money, but we're good.
All that matters is the roster management. All that matters exactly. How talented is your roster needs to be the question, not how much money are you spending or how much money do you have? How talented is your roster compared to the other rosters? That's the only question that matters. What does it matter if you spend $500 or $500 million? Do you have one of the most talented rosters or the most talented roster? That's it.
I can't tell which way this light is doing better. Is that better or not? I don't know.
That makes huge.
Anyway,
it'll make a huge difference. Ain't much light saving us too.
We need less light. People are like, could you just do a black screen and y'all talk? Anywho, so yeah, that's the first thing. And we're good. I mean, we're good, but we need to be better too. It is a slippery slope and a tightrope to maneuver, because what you want to do is make sure everybody knows, hey, we're good on money. We're up there, but we got to keep going. You can't just say, oh, we're good, well, then I can stop contributing. And the other thing that I learned, and this is something we all sort of joke about, but when you hear some of the people that are involved with it talk about it, it hits differently. Like post-loss, Alabama post-loss, especially football loss. People are like, well, what am I even spending my money on? Cancel my X amount of dollar subscription. That's the absolute worst thing to do. It's just like when your sales aren't good and you're like, we're cutting our marketing department. Well, your sales are going to be even worse if people don't know you exist. So I think that I'm not saying when we lose, you're like, oh, I need to double my subscription. No, just hold steady.
They need the fans more when things don't go well is when they need more support, whether you want to call it financially, slaps on the back, comments online. They need support when things don't go well. Do you think they just need more slaps on the back when things are going great? No, they need more support when it doesn't go well.
Exactly. Okay, then, so that's my first thing. And what it did, it was inspiring me. I was wearing my hard hat polo or whatever for the basketball thing. He's like, I'm glad you see you wearing our merch, and I'm going to buy some more merch. I'm going to do a monthly subscription. I'm going to do that. It was inspiring, and because I think he's right. And like, it's not fair for Alabama fans who have the means. By the way, if you don't have the means, don't do it. But if you do have the means and you can contribute anything, do it. It helps. But it inspired me to be more involved in that a little bit. Secondly, the players, Parker Brailsford, Deontay Lawson, and Keon Sabb, all fantastic representatives of Alabama. I will say this. You don't want Parker Brailsford telling your story. I'm not going to tell. His stories weren't like super secretive or anything, but it was just like, he's like, I got a good story to tell you. And then you tell the story and you weren't sure it was over or not. You're like, wait a minute, is that the end of it? Because I don't know. But good dude, funny dude. He had this, Parker Brailsford's got this gigantic afro. I mean, beautiful head of hair. And it was funny to see because the first thing he said was, yeah, after this, I want to be a barber. That's what I want to do. And I was like, this guy's so much better than me. If you had me on a panel at his age, and they'd be like, Luke, what do you want to do? I don't know. I thought I'd be here several more years and sort of drink and hang out. Is that cool? And then maybe I'd fall into some kind of job that just has all benefits and pays me several thousands of dollars to do very little. Is that okay? But Parker Brooks was like, yeah, I want to be a barber. I've already talked about, getting into that and looking
got the best hair on the team. Makes sense to me.
Oh, he's got the best hair. It's not close. It's not close. It is. And I know we've all seen this, but when you see him kind of up close, you're like, I don't understand how the helmet works with him. I don't. I mean, it is a beautiful, unbelievable head of hair.
He's got some new hair too, I see.
He shouldn't wear a helmet. He should wear something that protects his face, and that hair should always be shown to the world.
Those are three, yesterday after being in their presence, but no doubt, those are three of the leaders on this team.
Yeah.
Brailsford, Lawson, and Sabb. They will no doubt be on the leadership council and serious contenders for captains roles. They're the leaders or among the leaders on this team this fall. Then
Keon Sabb, Deontay Lawson, just super dudes. I did see a post on BOL. Somebody said Deontay Lawson looks thin. Yeah, I kind of had the same thought. I'll say this though. I think that's maybe what he needs to be. I mean, in today's football, you don't have to be super jacked. I mean, the one guy that comes to mind to me is Takeo Spikes. You see him on the SEC network, played in Auburn in the 90s. He was just like this monster he-man of a human being. And I'm not saying he couldn't be awesome still, but I'm saying, maybe we need more Ralph Statey kind of guys.
It's a different position. It's just a different position now. And I want people to think of today's inside linebackers were yesterday's safeties, and today's safeties were yesterday's cornerbacks because they've legislated a lot of the R-rated violence out of the game, and teams generally throw the ball more than they run it. Most of your opponents do. You can't sacrifice size. You can't put a 180-pound guy in the middle of your defense. But the Takeo Spikes, the Mike Singletaries, even the Ray Lewises, that's probably not really a thing anymore at inside backer. It's more of the Deontay Lawson types.
And on top of that, how many big running backs do you see? You don't see. I mean, there's Derrick Henry, but there's not a lot of Ron Danes out there. I mean, roast your running backs. I wouldn't say they're scat backs necessarily, but they're not quite as big as what historically some running backs have been. Now,
last year's leading runner in the SEC was Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, and he's not a big guy at all. And I don't worry about any back in the SEC trucking Deontay Lawson. That can happen, but I don't worry about that.
And by the way, I don't think I'm talking out of school when I say this. They asked who the best basketball player was, and like everybody's like Keon Sabb. Dude can play.
Sweet.
Interesting. Now the coaches got up and spoke, and this is what really got me excited. Let me tell you why. These coaches, man, there's a genuine love for this university in the short period of time they've been there. Maybe they sold me. Maybe they sold it, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. That is certainly possible, but it worked. I mean, if I believe it? It's a George Costanza. It's not a lie if I believe it, and I believe it. And we met almost every one of the coaches. Ryan Grubb wasn't there, but Gillespie was up there. He did a great job, I thought. Jason Jones got a big ovation, for coming home. Nick Sheridan was good. They talked about Keelan Russell a lot. They think they made it clear. They're like, yeah, this guy was number one player in the country, y'all. Be sure and know that. I guess I don't even know if I should say specific names, so I won't. But they have just now been able to, track some speeds and like this all happened just the other day. We got some fast dudes. If what they're saying is right, we got some burners and new names that are burners. So I'm trying not to overstep my bounds on information. Again, not that the information was groundbreaking, but just that I don't want to break any confidence that they had. At the same time, I want to excite some people because I want people to contribute more to Yay Alabama. And I want anybody who has a bad taste in their mouth from, say, Oklahoma and Michigan or whatever, those last couple of games. Yeah, those games stunk. I mean, that was another common theme. Like, yeah, those two games stunk. Nobody liked it. Everybody's mad about it. But I think Kalen DeBoer said it best. He's like, yeah, we remember the past, but we're looking at the future. So just something for y'all to think about. Guess who's back? Back again? It's Wayfair. That doesn't work. After this holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving you your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering or refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, whatever. Or maybe you just want to have a new space to, start the new year. You want to just start fresh. Wayfair is everything you need, all within budget. I'm currently looking, I should say, for furniture, and the huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. Because my style and budget is easy. It's my wife's style and budget that's the problem. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. Look, Wayfair is just awesome. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Wayfair's got you covered, bruh. All right, some recruiting news. That's one thing I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but I thought we were going to get to see some of the new enrollees, and we didn't. But that's okay. I mean, I was like, I want to get a picture with Keelan Russell because if he blows up, then I'm going to tell people, yeah, look at this picture of me and Keelan. But no, we didn't get to do that, so that's okay. But recruiting, we might have some new commitments here shortly. A couple of big names. Number one, I think is by the way, we'll get to this in a second. Jorden Edmonds and Bear McWhorter, both guys out of Georgia, right, Jimmy?
Correct. Jorden, they're both from they're both.
And Jorden Edmonds just blew up at that Atlanta Nike Combine or whatever.
He did. He is about to zoom up the rankings because those camps and combines are a huge part of rankings, and the analysts are there. The people that do the rankings are there in person, like I know Charles Power was from On3. And just keep in mind, I talked about it on the last show, and I can't stress it enough. Look at the rankings. Look at the rankings. I'm not saying ignore them. Look at what the rankings are, but realize there are going to be multiple updates over the next year, because what you're really talking about is asking Mel Kiper not about the draft this April. You're asking Mel Kiper about the draft next April, and how accurate or how dead on do you expect that to be when it's that far out? And that's what rankings are right now. They're in their infancy. So look at them. They'll continually be updated. But Luke is right. Jorden Edmonds, the cornerback from Sprayberry High School in the Atlanta area, who's going to commit next week, that BOL has put in an official prediction for Jorden Edmonds to commit to Alabama. This is big time, guys. And put it this way, Zion Gibson, we know he's already ranked really high. Jorden Edmonds was at the same camp as Zion Gibson, and per the analysts that were present, Jorden Edmonds outperformed even Zion Gibson, who looked good. Zion Gibson was a standout at this camp, but Jorden Edmonds was even better, according to the analysts present. So that's big-time stuff, and I'm really excited about Jorden Edmonds potentially committing to Alabama next week. We'll see. That's the BOL prediction, but it would be one heck of a cornerback duo right out of the gate. I would say two of what I think will end up being two of the top 10 corners in the country.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And that's the other thing. This staff does a great job of recruiting defensive backs. I mean, a great job.
Yes.
And by the way, just again, not trying to reveal secrets, but Dijon Lee and Chuck McDonald have both been getting some rave reviews. I'll tell you another guy who's gotten rave reviews. And boy, I keep saying this caveat because I don't want to get in trouble. They love them some Ivan Taylor.
Yeah. And Ivan was one of my absolute favorites from the start because it starts with me. I know, obviously, you have to have physical talent. He clearly does, or he wouldn't be ranked where he is. But the intangibles are so big for guys like that. Look at Pat Surtain, who had the NFL dad, that played DB. Ivan Taylor shows up with a similar situation with the dad who was a career NFL DB. He's a DB. He was recruited by schools like Notre Dame and Michigan. And let's be honest, I mean, to be recruited by Notre Dame especially, I mean, they do have off the field things they look for. You have to sort of not only be a great football player, but an Eagle Scout type personality to play at Notre Dame. And Ivan Taylor's that guy. And those dudes have a high hit rate because what you're getting with them off the field is the same thing you're getting with them on the field, which is excellence. So Ivan Taylor's always been one of my favorites. I remain very excited about him.
And I'm trying to decipher I don't think that's too much to say the coaches brought up some of those names.
We've talked before, even off the record, even before this event.
Yeah.
We do get information from time to time from inside the program as to who they're high on, and that just jives up exactly with what we've been hearing.
If it is a secret, it won't be a secret long for somebody like Ivan Taylor specifically, because, I mean, again, you know how it is with coaches. Sometimes their eyes just light up when they talk about a certain dude.
They do with Keelan Russell. We said it at the same time. They do. Keelan Russell. Don't get, from what I understand, and I wasn't there yesterday, so I wouldn't know. But from what I understand, don't get Kalen DeBoer talking about Keelan Russell.
Unless you want to be there a while.
Yeah, you're going to be there about 20 minutes. So, but that's great. That's great that they're excited about him. It doesn't mean anything until the pads are on and they're playing football.
Talk about Bear McWhorter really quickly, then I want to add two things.
Yeah, Bear, I like Bear a ton. This is a gump, literally a gump. I don't know that we've recruited anyone more of a gump than Bear McWhorter. But if you want to say, well, I mean, some of these fans, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a great player. Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that Bear McWhorter is a potential 5-star. That's not it at all. But what I'm saying is watch the tape, Bear McWhorter, who has really good offers. If he doesn't commit to Alabama at the end of February, like BOL is predicting that he commits to Alabama, as we would for almost any player that has a takeable offer to Alabama who's named after Bear Bryant. That's probably going to be followed by a BOL prediction. So, but if he doesn't choose Alabama, he's going to choose Michigan. And he ain't named after Bo Schembechler. I mean, Michigan wants this guy. So this is not Alabama reaching just because the kid's named after Coach Bryant and just because, he's gone to Alabama games his whole life, even though he's from Georgia. These are a Gump family, which means we say that in the highest esteem possible. And he happens to be a really good player. If y'all want a recent comp, I think Mal Waldrop, who Alabama signed in the last class, is a decent comp. But to be honest, he's better than that in terms of ultimately where his ranking will be. I think ultimately his ranking is going to end up being in that Micah Debose area. I mean, he's going to be ranked around where Debose was. I think his floor is Mal Waldrop. Another thing I love about Bear McWhorter, similar to Mal Waldrop, he can play all the positions. He can be a tackle. He can be a guard. He can be a center. My feeling is guard for Bear McWhorter. But this is a kid with the feet to play tackle and the intellect and tangibles to play center. Another solid, we'll call it solid. We won't overdo it. I'm not saying it's Jackson Lloyd, but this will be a solid pickup and a good start to building another offensive line group.
Nick Sheridan is staying, as we all know, and Nick Sheridan did get up and speak for a moment, specifically spoke about Keelan Russell, and again, just lit up talking about him. Not going to go into everything, obviously, but one thing, and again, this is my picking this up. I think it'd be very easy for Nick Sheridan to be a little ticked off that, okay, demotion. I didn't see any of that. Now, again, maybe he's a master of disguise, but I think body language and things would be easy to pick up on. I think Nick Sheridan ought to be celebrated for the way all this has been handled. And frankly, I think this can, if I'm not saying this is like blowing smoke up his tuchus, I'm saying this for real. Like, if Grubb comes in and Alabama kicks butt, and let's say, I mean, whatever quarterback, but let's say it's Keelan Russell, for instance, because Nick Sheridan was involved in recruiting him, and he goes off, that's going to skyrocket his career. So, I mean, there's a positive side to this demotion, and I don't even know that I would call it that. So I think Nick Sheridan's handled this beautifully. I think it just is a testament to how well Kalen DeBoer has a handle on his coaching staff and this university, and I'm very, very excited about that. The second thing I thought about was this. And again, this is just me talking. This isn't anything anybody else said. This is just me. That the one thing I noticed, there was, by the way, Freddie Roach is jacked. If y'all hadn't seen Freddie Roach in a while, holy smokes! Now that's your former inside linebacker.
Like he's making a second charge at the NFL.
I was blown away by seeing him in person. But he also, what I love about Freddie Roach, he's got a very Nick Saban way of talking, like levels, and then. You know, what was that old FedEx commercial where the guy said, "What if we do this?" And the other guy said, "Hey, I just did that, boss. And you just did this instead of this." He goes, "Yeah, but this is better." You know, like he does a lot of hand gestures. But DeBoer, when DeBoer's speaking, you know, obviously the head football coach of Alabama commands a lot of attention, right? But it did become clear to me the fans weren't maybe quite as captured as when Nick Saban would have been speaking. And that's certainly understandable. Nobody captures attention of an audience like Nick Saban, ever. So this isn't a shot at DeBoer at all. That would go for any coach out there, and I'm including Kirby Smart, so whatever. But it did dawn on me. And then for whatever reason, I thought about this. You know what I want? What I want to see before I die? Nick Saban hosts Saturday Night Live. I don't know why this came up, why I thought about this. Can you imagine how awesome that would be? Like
the ratings would be massive because the SNL crowd, they watch every single. You'd have all sorts of football fans that never watch SNL tuning in, and he would be funny too.
It would blow up. And not only would he be funny, but like his delivery on the VRBO commercials is unbelievable. I mean, and it's so dry, and I don't think you'd know if he's joking or not. And it's sort of like a Stephen Wright thing, kind of, you know, very dry, and you know, but then if somebody screwed up in a sketch and like broke character, like who's the late Jimmy Fallon used to do all the time. I hated Jimmy Fallon on SNL because he broke character every time. It's only funny if you break character occasionally. He did it every time. Right. And if Saban would be like, "Get in character. What are you doing?" It would be even funnier.
It's the greatest idea I've ever heard. I've never heard of this idea, but now that you say it, it's probably the greatest idea I've ever heard.
And see, like I was thinking, he might be the only coach that could do it. I don't know another. Maybe Dion has done it, I think. But
he probably did back in his playing days. As a matter of fact, I think I know that he did. I think he was even like a musical guest because Dion had some sort of
musical thing
song.
But he may have co-hosted with like Jerry Rice or something. because a lot of times they do that with athletes, like you have two hosting at the same time. But Nick Saban hosts Saturday Night Live. I'm starting a Twitter or X thing to get that done because that would be awesome. And yeah. So anyway, y'all should be really excited.
Lane, by the way, would also be good.
I think Lane would be a better musical guest. Why is my thing not showing?
I see it.
I really hate it when I do what I'm supposed to do on this computer thing, and then it doesn't do it, and everybody's like, "See how dumb Luke is?" And I'm like, "No, I did it right that time."
That's the computer's fault.
Yeah. Who do you think's smarter, me or a computer, huh? All right. Saban on SNL is
good.
That's one of the best ideas I've ever had. I just don't know
doubt
for it. So basketball tonight we have Texas. Let me tell you what's worrying me a little bit tonight, Jimmy. And this was brought up several times, by the way, yesterday at the little event. There was no basketball anything. Now that is one other thing I said, by the way, to Jay. I said, Jay, I went to Yale, Alabama the other day, and I was going to pay upwards of $400, $500 for a Nate Oates signed basketball. Because I was like, I need one in my house. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. I did kind of want to. I was late to the party on it, but it just dawned on me I don't have one, so I need to get one. And they didn't have one. I was like, y'all got to get some more Nate Oates basketballs, whatever you got to do. And then he sort of went on explaining how all the autograph things work, and it ain't easy as y'all think, y'all. Y'all think it's just to get a player to sign and put it on the thing. It ain't that easy. So, but what's worried me?
Probably have to call the player's agent.
Dude,
okay, we do this.
Let me tell you what. When he first walked in, all I could think was, "Man, I want his job." And when he left, I was thinking, "I wouldn't do that job for anything."
No, it is not what people think it is, and it's a lot of red tape and a lot of I want to do this, but you can't. So, I've got a solution. No, that won't work either. It's tough what Jay McPhillips and Yale, Alabama do. It's not just fundraising and writing checks. It's not that.
And just hobnobbing with rich people and drinking champagne with your arms interlocked. That's not what it is. I'm telling you, the rules are so wild and ambiguous. You don't know what you're breaking and what you're not doing enough of. It's crazy. But anywho, basketball wise, what worries me tonight is like yesterday, all everybody could talk about was this 1 versus 2 this weekend. And it's 1 versus 2 and 2 versus 1 because Alabama's 1 and 1, Auburn 2 in that one, and Auburn's 1 and the other one, and Alabama 2 in that one. So it is like the biggest ticket in Coleman Coliseum history. Greg Burns said something else about it, which I will tell you later, but I don't even feel comfortable. That's how guarded I'm being about this. It's not a big secret, but it's a big deal. He was like, "Yeah, this is a big deal," and I'll tell you about it later. But so I'm worried that that's the focus. We got a big game tonight, and on top of that, Auburn's got a big game tonight. Now I don't care if I'd rather Auburn lose, obviously, but my point is, this is a what do you call it? A something moment. A what moment?
Seminal
moment. Yeah. Boy, leave it to you to come up with that word. So it's a seminal moment for Alabama, the state of Alabama basketball. Like, be 1 versus 2 when you come in and you two go at it. And of course, as a Bama fan, I would love to wax the floor with Auburn. Don't get me wrong. But I think long term, with game day here, 1 versus 2, as long as we both don't lose tonight, or neither one of us lose tonight, and we come in and it's a tip in at the buzzer, like Alabama, like I think it was Derek McKee that tipped it into the buzzer against Florida back in the late 80s with that kick butt Alabama team, or Alabama's late shot against Petway's late shot against Florida several years ago, where you have the crowd explode at the last second or something like that. That's what this state could use to, that will be a lasting memory. Again, if Alabama wins by 30, you're not going to hear me complain. But I'm saying that if I could draw it perfectly, it would be Alabama wins this game 92-90 as, I don't know, Mo Diabate taps it in at the last second to win the game. And some of y'all are out there like, no, we got to win by 50 or we stink. I'm telling you, just for the outlook of the state as a whole, as a guy who loves basketball, I think that's the way this would be better, because that will last in the nation's memory banks, right?
Yeah. I think an entertaining game, the idea of the game is going to captivate the country, 1 versus 2. That's going to get a lot of eyeballs on the screen. So what you want is the non-Alabama or non-Auburn fan to think that game was great. That what a great game. I'm so glad I watched that. That was awesome. That's college basketball at its best. So in that sense, I can see that, because it would be great for college basketball in this state if the country walked away from the game talking about it. And that's true. That's true. And whoever wins or loses, hey, I'll say this and I think everybody listening knows this. The loser of this Alabama-Auburn game might win the national championship. So don't.
Exactly.
The loser of this game might win the national championship. The winner might win it too. But the loser isn't out of anything. And so don't. If you're Alabama and you win, hey, we got to go play them in their place. Don't forget that.
Last game of the year.
And so the loser of this game is still a major national championship contender.
I equate it to this, Jimmy. I position myself as being a guy who knows a lot of football, not technical, but like memory of football games, and I can remember national championships and remember great games, especially for Alabama, but also with some NFL games. I had 100% forgotten. I saw something the other day. They were talking about this blowout was going to be as bad as the Broncos against the Seahawks back in 2014, I think it was. I was like, holy cow, I forgot that Super Bowl existed. You know why I forgot it existed? Because it was 43-8 in New York and it stunk. Yeah. So it's not a Super Bowl when it stinks. It's like Homer Simpson in that old commercial when he went to the Grand Canyon. He's standing there and he goes, the Grand Canyon. What a Grand Canyon. And that's what I want to be. I want to be the Iron Bowl of basketball. What an Iron Bowl of basketball. That's what I want. Like, I want it to fit the moment.
Well, I'm worried about Texas because we talked about Auburn the whole time.
Exactly. That's the other problem.
That's our point. That is the point.
The issue.
That is the point. And I'm worried about the team doing the same thing. And Auburn's got a really tough game at Vanderbilt. Texas just lost there.
Well, Texas, and here's the thing that I found kind of weird. I think ESPN, somebody may correct me. I'll look at it when I'm done. I don't look at things while we're doing the podcast normally. Texas is like 15-9, and they're like 88% to make the tournament. Vanderbilt is 17-6, and I think their percentage to make the NCAA tournament is, I don't know about much less, but it's less. Yeah. So while it looks on paper like Auburn's got the tougher game, I think we have the tougher game, despite the fact that Vandy just beat Texas.
Yeah, Texas's one-loss record is a product of an incredibly very tough schedule. That's a good team. Alabama's going to play tonight. And for those who haven't seen Texas, watch it. Trey Johnson is an absolute dude. He's going to be tough. Remember, we warned y'all about Hubbard when we played Mississippi State. I warned you about Johnson. He'll go out there and throw up 30 on you.
But just like Hubbard, if he goes out there and puts 38 on us and we win the game, I'm getting out of there and I'm saying like this, and everybody else can complain, we can't stop the best player. Okay, but guess what we did? We won. They can take home that little participation trophy. We'll take home the real thing.
Yeah, he's their best player because no one else can stop him either.
That's by definition. Man, I love when we just sit here and like figure out things on our own.
It's rare. That happens.
By the way, there will be a crossover this week sometime with Zach Blackerby. Jimmy may be involved. I may be involved. Zach may be involved. One of these other guys. Charlie 5, who's on his program, I saw he had a little short out with Zach on Locked on Auburn. And Charlie was like, I've begun to hate Alabama basketball more than Alabama football. And I was like, I said some stuff like that a couple of years ago, and I went viral. And I got hate mail. Charlie 5 says everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, what the hell? I hate y'all. I said this about y'all a long time ago.
That's because they care about Auburn basketball more than they care about Auburn football right now.
Ooh, you're about to go viral, young man.
Well, that would be why they would say stuff like that.
That's a good point. All right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.